Welcome to Saturday's Warrior, proud member of the College Huddle, and coming to you completely and utterly exhausted and relieved after an insane, uh, uh, just completely insane game. BYU Iowa State going to double overtime. A game that looked like at one point could be out of hand when BYU led by as many, I believe, as 21. I still didn't feel completely safe. I thought, we've seen this before, but they continued to fight and never really, outside of that stretch at the end of the first half, and then to start the second half, really did not really look like BYU for much of that game, but continued to find ways to keep scoring. What an amazing game and finish. Regardless of how it would have ended, would have been an amazing. It's super entertaining. I have to admit, though, by probably before even the first overtime, I was already exhausted. By the time we got to the end of second overtime, I just wanted at the end, but we already got some comments here. We got Talmadge Hokinson saying free throw drill. Yeah, absolutely. Free throws came in clutch for BYU. I mean, really for both teams, but I guess it kind of dropped off at the end because BYU was over 90% for a while, ended with 80% free throw percentage. But, we missed Kata missed a couple there, and I guess Hall at the end. But anyway, they've been practicing. Those were some clutch free throws. And Dallin was the right man with the ball in his hands. Yeah, he certainly was. And that's been a staple of this BYU team all season, right? Is different people could step up. I mean, you're always going to have Richie. He's always, like tonight, he got 23. Granted, it was double overtime, and how many of the 13 of those were free throws. So even Richie was a little bit out of sorts, but have different people stepping up in every game. And tonight it was Dallin. 1-2. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us again. Can you believe that? Found a way. Such a huge victory. 4 seed in conference tourney. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm trying to think if it's locked up. I guess BYU could lose and Iowa State could win the last game. But yeah, looks like BYU was not going to settle for that 5 seed tonight. And what a win. No, I don't believe it. This is insane. I'm still shaking. 1-2. Okay. We are beating top 10 teams on their home court with 3 extra refs on their side. Yeah. Absolutely. They've been tonight the officiating. Well, we'll get into the officiating. It was weird for sure. All right, Chris Stevenson, thanks for joining the show, man. Being a BYU fan counts as being an adrenaline junkie. Yeah, like I said, I'm still shaking. My wife asked me, all the time, why do you keep watching? Why do you do this? It's all the same thing. This was why. For moments like this is why we keep watching. What an insane game. Carl, welcome back. Holy turnovers. Yeah, so they figured out the free throws, but turnovers came back, by a large margin, something that I thought BYU had started cleaning up a little bit. Obviously, Iowa State saw some things that they thought they could take advantage of and certainly did, but definitely have to clean that up. There's no way you're going to keep beating top 10 teams with 29 turnovers. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to beat much worse teams, than that in going forward and in the tournament if you turn over like that. BYU football, thanks for joining and good to see you back. Huge win for BYU. Yes, huge win is an understatement. What a statement game there. Mary Lou Crafts says, phew, my goodness, I came in 8 minutes after getting off work. Joined the game 8 minutes late or just now, because that was it was insane. I hopefully you got to catch some of that, because it was the whole ride, the whole way through. Martin Hughes says, unbelievable game. BYU loses a 20-point lead, has a slow start, and still wins the game in double overtime. Yeah, it sucks that I had to go to double overtime, but BYU, what a way to pull it out. And they started both overtime periods strong. Obviously, kind of petered out there at the end of the first overtime, and they did just enough to hang in that second. So yeah, what a way to overcome that start. I think a lot of that. I was trying to think how to go through this, but I want to say this now is. I think that speaks a lot to the coaching job that Kevin Young does. We saw it against West Virginia, and obviously they showed some things that Iowa State could do, or that teams could do. Obviously, Iowa State just completely, all those guys. They're just very defensive minded, and they were just hounding BYU all night. But Coach Young, give him credit for making adjustments, not being afraid to making early subs and getting different guys in different looks and seeing who he could rely on, and then going with them for long stretches, and kind of broke away from the traditional lineups, the traditional subbing patterns, and so I really like that. It shows that he's able to adjust on the fly, and it worked. So Aaron Badley says, that Keita block felt like the LeBron block in the finals. I posted, I think it reminded me, well, yeah, it was more LeBron, but going back to Tayshaun Prince in the 2004 finals, you probably can't see it. I grew up in Michigan, so I'm a Pistons guy. So I went to Tayshaun instead of LeBron. But that's fair enough. But yeah, what an incredible block. I actually want to know, I need to put a poll out there. I want to know what was the better play, the Keba block or the Dallin Hall alley-oop, because both of those were incredible plays too. That two I'll always remember, but definitely defining that game right there. So Mary Lou says at 8 left in the half. Sorry, Mary Lou Crafts. Okay. So, well, I'm glad you got to still catch some of it in the most stressful part of the game. But 1-2 says, in fairness, Iowa State was hacking our guys relentlessly, and it was usually a turnover instead of a foul. ISU, easily the most physical team faced this season. The caliber of team was another level. Yeah. Yes, they were all over BYU. A lot of those, I do feel like there's no way that some of those weren't fouls, and some of those that weren't even turnovers. They were hanging all over BYU players all night long, and which is what BYU started to do. That's what Dallin Hall was trying to do on certain calls, and then I think he got called for a foul or maybe a travel or something, but he often does it where he, dribbles into the lane and lets the guy, he kind of feels him on his hip and pulls up a little bit and can get a bump. But even there late in the game, they had I guess my problem with it was the inconsistency, right? Like sometimes games refs let them play, but then they'll call ticky-tack fouls. So you got to be consistent. You can't call ticky-tack fouls on one play and then allow them to maul the other players on the other side. Even if a little bit of it happened both ways, it was definitely more one-sided there. But for them to allow the kind of defense that Iowa State was playing, and then on the other end, he says, oh man, he just, this was near I think the end of the half or maybe overtime, but he said, man, he just bullied Keita out of the way. I was like, well, yeah, he used his arm and cleared out the space and then laid it in the ball. Like there's no way, just physics. There's no way that guy's just, bowling over Keita. So just crazy things like that all game. But at the end of the day, though, it wasn't all refs. I mean, Iowa State had a great game plan, and they went after it. That's certainly very high caliber team there, and very impressive win. Either way, obviously two well-matched teams going at it back and forth all night. So Travis White says, should BYU get a 4 seed in the Big 12 tournament? Should they? Yes. Right now, BYU and Iowa State are tied in the standings. I'll have to pull it up. They are tied, and BYU with the tiebreaker with the head-to-head win. So technically, BYU could lose, and and Iowa State could win their final games. So it's not locked up yet. And BYU is actually even in contention for the 3 seed, depending on what Arizona does. So definitely puts them in a good position to get a double bye in the tournament for next week now. Holy cow. So Jason Whiting says, checking in from Sydney, Australia, with the time zone shift. I lost track of tip off. Congrats to the Cougs. Looking for highlight videos to go live now. I didn't anticipate this being a W. No, honestly, I thought BYU would stand a chance coming in this game. I thought it was going to be a good one. I thought it would be a close one. I did not anticipate the way this game played out. Obviously, I did think BYU would be able to bounce back from the rough start, which sounds like hopefully you missed. But then once they were rolling, I didn't think Iowa State would be able to score enough points to come back. But again, we've seen this before from BYU. The difference is BYU was able to find a way to grit it out and win. And that is a new level for BYU. So huge aspect of that. But yeah, thank you for joining from Australia. That's awesome. Never been to Sydney directly. Well, maybe I guess I was in the airport there. So I flew over and got a look of it from there. So awesome. Thanks for joining. 1-2 says, I think we locked the 4 seed because of home-to-home or head-to-head with ISU, who is 1 game behind us with 1 game to go. Oh, are they one game behind now? Okay. I may be wrong here. So actually, it'll be faster on my phone here. I got it. So anyway, yeah, I think he might be. Well, I don't know. Maybe it hasn't updated. But that would be great news for us. So, okay. Travis White says this win should bump them up in the Big 12 tournament. Yeah, for sure. It definitely does. And having the head-to-head is humongous between them. So, let's see here. I'm looking up a couple things, but let's keep going through. So, Cougar says, love our Cougars. Absolutely. What a win. Good for them. ISU plays very similar to Houston. Yeah, they're 2 really good teams. And BYU, there's no way they're making it through the Big 12 tournament without facing at least one of those 2 teams. And it'll be very interesting to see if this new BYU team that's really found something, had something going, if they run into Houston again, how that game would look. Because we know the last time these were 2 very different teams, but Houston's also really, really good. To see how BYU would respond to that and see if they could kind of get a different narrative. I don't think it would be a complete blowout, and I do think BYU could be in any game. And if it's a close one, now look at what they've done twice now against top 10 teams at their own court and in close games. So BYU football says the possibilities for this BYU team in the big dance are limitless. In my opinion, depending on bracket matchups, this could easily be a Final Four team. Yeah, I mean, it certainly feels that way right now. I mean, nobody should want to face BYU in the tournament right now. That would be a bad luck of the draw. And because of their seed probably won't reflect that because of how they played earlier in the season, which is fair. They're going to be in matchups where they might be in the lower seed, but could be favored either way. So, certainly gives you hope for this team that for the possibility of a deep run, which is nice to hear. A nice change of pace. Okay, Travis White says BYU is a Final Four team. I love the optimism from everybody. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. As this game showed tonight, as soon as you start thinking you got something in hand, things start slipping away. Maybe that's the pessimistic BYU fan in me, but I think it's just the cautious. I'm going to enjoy this win while we can. But yeah, I certainly think this team has the potential to make that kind of run. I think that is a completely fair statement. They have the talent. They've got the coaching. They've got the players. They've got the pieces. And they've now figured out how to do it in difficult and hostile environments. So absolutely. Camden says, what a freaking wild game. You're not kidding. It was so weird. It was such a weird game. And the fact that it ended as crazy as it did with going to double overtime, just completely wild. Martin Hughes says BYU now has the double bye in the Big 12 tournament, and they've taken 3rd in the Big 12. Oh, have they already? Thank you. I was going to say, I don't think my standings had updated yet. It could be really good for our seeding in the NCAA tournament too. Absolutely. Because that almost ensures that BYU is going to be playing, an upper echelon team one more time. So another opportunity or other opportunities at quad one wins and even if they don't win the whole tournament, you win, against a really good team and then even lose, the next game. I mean, those are just good games that are only going to bolster their resume and hopefully could get them out of the 8-9 seed because at this, because their reward would be going up against a 1 seed in the next round. Although if I were a 1 seed, I wouldn't really want to play BYU right now either. But nonetheless, Gage Bentley says, how stressed should we be going into Saturday? That is a good question. It feels like there's no way in heck BYU is going to lose that game to Utah right now, right? Because they've gone up against tougher teams, and this one's going to be at home. They've shown that they can do it in hostile environments, and it's Utah. They want revenge, and they're just playing with another level right now. But it's still Utah, and that would just. I don't think BYU can lose that game. I don't think so. I wouldn't go so far as to guarantee it. But yeah, I'm always stressed. Like if this weren't Utah, I wouldn't worry so much because I don't think it could do that much to hurt BYU at this point. But in terms of the tournament, you don't want to lose to Utah. You don't want them to get that. Hey, you're the hottest team in the country right now, and we just beat you on your own court and twice for the season. So that'll always be stressful. But this team seems to have something going. I don't know, but rivalry games are always stressful. So that's a good question there. Okay, Travis White says that's how Big 12 officiates. Oh, yes. Sorry, I'm getting behind on the comments here. Trying to get through to everybody. So let's try to get through some of these a little bit. Jess Hayes says, Iowa State's defense was incredible. I can't believe BYU slowed the pace and stopped moving around, allowing ISU to tie. Good win still. Yeah, they definitely got out of, and some of that goes to Iowa State, right, for slowing BYU down. But they definitely got away from what they did well. And then when they tried to get back to it, they were just out of flow and back to making some bad passes. And, I think Iowa State getting away with some fouls, whatever. But yeah, that was confounding. But Travis White says, I think BYU led up on defense in the second half. Maybe, they were up pretty big. Everything was going their way. It's tough. And I like that Kevin Young, that first time out he called in that second half, they're still up big. And I liked that because all too often you see a team up big and they wait until that huge lead goes all the way down to a little bit more of an uncomfortable level. And Kevin Young called that one right away. Of course, Iowa State went on an even bigger stretch after that and waited a bit longer to call it. But I like that he was quick to call that timeout, settle his team down a little bit. It didn't work. I think they turned it over after, or maybe it was shot clock. So yeah, turnover after that timeout. But anyway, let's see. Ray Conger, hopefully I got that right. BYU faced a worthy opponent in Iowa State. I don't know why that's in quotation marks. I do think they're a really good team, and one Iowa State could definitely make a deep run. They're going to be get a very good seeding in the tournament, so I'd watch out for them. But yeah, and BYU could very well face them again very soon, as early as next week. So Camden says Dallin Hall dunk was one of the best BYU basketball moments I have witnessed. Yeah, it's certainly up there. One I think we'll all remember. But that Kaba block, it was, I don't know. It was crazy. It looked like he had no business. I knew he was going to go and contend, but I didn't think he was going to get really that close to blocking it. And he did. And that, if you think about it, when points were at a premium at that point and the momentum, that was a huge, huge stop right there. Gage Bentley says we are 13-6 in conference play after tonight. Yes. That's crazy. At one point we were just hoping we could get to 10-10. So amazing turnaround for the season. Crusader refs let ISU mug BYU all night. Sure did. Charles Todd Barnum says Iowa State fouled to get those turnovers. Uh, yeah, they certainly got plenty of fouls, and sometimes they were willing to do it. It's just funny because they look shocked anytime they actually got called for a foul when they're doing it all night, and then they look shocked. What? Yeah, of course they were shocked. They were getting away with it all night, and I love the crowd. Like, it was obnoxious because it was the other team, and they thought everything was a foul. They thought everything BYU did was wrong, and they thought the refs were they were really hounding the refs, even though they were getting all the calls. But that's a good environment. I think this is probably the best environment I've seen BYU play in outside of the Marriott Center, obviously, all season. Some other good ones. Arizona was really good. I actually thought Cincy was pretty good. I don't know if it was quite as loud, but that crowd was in it the whole time, and they were really engaged and gave it to BYU. And granted, they had a lot to cheer about in that game. Last time BYU lost, by the way. So anyway, Christopher Williams says, I believe this continues the streak of going undefeated when leading at the 5-minute mark left in the game. Oh, how long is that streak going? That's a good one. And nice to know that BYU can close out games. Ray Conger says Iowa State played well in their own court. Yeah, I thought they did play well. I'm impressed at how well BYU is able to slow them down as well. We're not talking about that as much. I mean, to turn it over as much as BYU did, and to still, they had 11 turnovers, but that's nowhere near 29. So, and the fact that BYU still pulled that out. Oh, sorry. Did I click on this one? Dan Skinner, speaking of turnovers, 29 turnovers. Come on, guys. Enough is enough. Yeah, they certainly have to clean that up. Der Gleitze, I don't know. BYU might be creating a blue blood in the making long-term, like a Gonzaga. They really could. That's why I've been saying, like, whatever they've paid AJ DeBonsa, I hear 4 million, 7 million, 8 million, whatever it is, it's not enough. Like, the cachet that is going to continue to bring this program, and that we've shown this program can already do, especially in bring in some really good recruits, and then to bring him in and how that might continue to snowball. Yeah, absolutely. That is what BYU is trying to do, and hopefully can do, although hopefully do maybe even more than Gonzaga is the goal. But hey, Spencer Duncan, what's up, man? Good high school buddy here joining us. So good to have some familiar faces. First half of the season, BYU was 1-4 in overtime or games with 10 points. Second half of the season, 6-0 in overtime or close games. I love to see that change. Yeah, something has definitely switched for BYU. And we knew, they let some frustrating games get away from them early on. There's TCU, Texas Tech, Utah. So to see this change is Ole Miss even. So yeah, incredible. Great stat, thank you. Travis White says it really was jungle ball tonight. It was weird. Okay, Elijah Foster is seeding. I think we're correcting previous tweet. I can't go back. I'll lose everything. But they didn't slow the pace. ISU's defense picked up. It certainly did. Yeah, they did pick up, and I don't want to, complaining about the refs. The refs were wild. It was weird. I couldn't really get a sense of, certain things that they'd call foul and then the other things they'd get away with. But that should not take away. Like, Iowa State came in with a game plan. They came in with a purpose, and they executed really well, especially on defense. And they were in BYU's head. Like, it shows 29 turnovers. BYU could not really settle down for most of the game and figure things out. In many ways, BYU's fortunate they went on such a run that they did for that time that it allowed them to have just enough points to kind of keep going along. So absolutely. BYU football says with the Arizona and Iowa State game, there's no way they're going to be an 8 or 9 seeding in the dance. I see them getting a 6 seed, if not a 5 seed. I sure hope so. I'm really interested. So if anyone sees an update on any of the metrics and Ken Palm and all that while we're going through this. Drop them in the chat. Let me know. I'm curious to see how this impacted all that, because it's certainly a great win for BYU. Ray says was not quotations. Oh, it was bold italics. Okay. Well, sorry. Okay. I stand corrected. So yes, it was a worthy opponent. Christopher Williams says Arizona was good until the chant. Yeah, the chant, that was surprising. That was weird from Arizona. Source Sports, especially because it wasn't even BYU's fault. Like BYU, what if the ref's going to give you? They're going to say, "Hey, I don't know. Maybe it was a soft foul." And going back and watching, by the way, when I watched that show live, I did think that was, or when we were first reacting, we put our show out. I'd said that I didn't really think it was a call. It did look like a bailout call. Watching from other angles, it was a foul by the letter of the law. Not the kind of foul I'd like to see called at any point throughout a game, because I don't really like it when you officiate different at the end of the game than the beginning. Like, just be consistent. But I did feel like it was a little bit of a bailout, but it was a foul. So I don't know. Arizona fans don't have to like it, but yeah, that was a weird ending. Anyway, 1-2 says, look at the coaching tonight. It was elite. Kevin Young was subbing offense, defense strength in free throws and turnovers, managing 4 players with 4 fouls near the end. Impressive. It really was. I can't believe nobody fouled out of that game, because we had a lot of fouls going into that first overtime, and to play 2 overtimes and no one fouling out, especially when you're that tired and, they're all over you. Like, it is crazy. Really good point. So, a few things I want to grab here. I had so many tweets open. I don't want to do this forever. I'm already been on longer than I want to, because this game ended so late. But man, here, I just want to show this again here. What a dunk. Well, I mean, just what a play. We'll always have that one. Go to bed, Iowa State. This man just threw down an alley-oop on you. Yeah, well, didn't go to bed quite as early as we thought, but won nonetheless. So talk about the Big 12 tourney. This was before the game, and obviously this has shifted now. So pretty awesome to see the roles reversed there, and kind of like your spot there a lot better if it's at 4 or 3 than sitting there at 5. So love this one from Cyclone Larry, who, if you're not on Twitter, it's probably for the best. But if you're not, or if you are and you haven't seen Cyclone Larry, he's got some very interesting and colorful commentary. He's obviously Iowa State guy, but this was his prediction for tonight. He was right about one thing. It was a statement win tonight. So good job, Cougs, for going in there and making a statement. Jason Shear, again, he's an Arizona reporter. He was all over realignment stuff with the Big 12, but had some getting into it with BYU fans after BYU, but he generally has some good stuff. But he says saw brackets with BYU as an 8 seed. What a nightmare for that 1 seed. So nice for him to, give BYU some props. And then this is going in chronological order. So this is going over that first half. I just want to talk about a few things though, but Cougar Stat says, despite a massive 12-5 difference in turnovers, the points off turnovers is 7-7. So again, that goes back to how BYU should get credit for, the defense played on Iowa State too. Now, Iowa State's not known for being as offensive. I mean, they have a good offense, but I don't think they're like BYU level, but nonetheless, I'd be kind of curious to see what that final number was off of the final amount of turnovers. But yeah, BYU was able to, that is how BYU was able to get back in the game after that terrible start. Just kind of reiterating some of this, and BYU in that first half coming back, and BYU has 11 fast break points compared to 0 for Iowa State. And we've been talking about that in the comments. A lot of good observations there from people that, that's how BYU got back into it. That's when they're at their best, and they couldn't really get back into that. Chase Rogers says 12 turnovers and you didn't score until 13:34 mark, and you go into halftime up 9 at Iowa State. What is this BYU team? Bro. Yeah, crazy. I can't believe it. And then I love this one. Robbie McComb says, reminder, Iowa State is fully healthy. They are, or should I say they were, 19-1 when they have all their guys. The lone loss was a buzzer beater to number 1 Auburn in Maui, one of college basketball's elite teams when healthy. Wow, it's probably the elite team, right? BYU up by 9 at half. So yeah, that is just crazy. Now the win ended up being less impressive than it looked maybe at the end of the half or going into that second half, but it was an impressive win nonetheless. Cougar Stat says maybe one of the ugliest 14-3 runs in recent history. I'll second that. Jeremy Jordan says the Cougars have used the Iowa State aggression over pursuit to get to the line and create open threes. It worked for a while, but Iowa State, credit to them, they were able to adjust as well. Jake Hatch says BYU can't run half-court sets the rest of the way, push the pace, attack the rim. If that means benching Jaeger in favor of Hall, etc., you got to do it. Same with Keita. Foose is getting overwhelmed this game. Ride your best horses. Yeah, and he did do that. Like, it was near the end of regulation that he pulled Jaeger, although I think he went in for final possession or two. But that's the thing. He's not afraid to pull people, sit them. He's done it with Demon and other times, and to ride Dallin Hall and throughout that game, even though, I mean, he had his moments too, but credit to the defense. But obviously Hall was the guy to get it done tonight, and he stayed with his guy. And then with Foose, I mean, go back to the last game. I mean, that was Foose's game, right? The Foose game. When he was ineffective tonight, you look at the minutes total, and this hasn't updated yet, but I had it on my phone. Let's see, did this update yet? Because I'm on the Yahoo app. Okay, yeah. So they got the minutes up here, but you look at Foose with 8 minutes tonight in a double overtime game. That the next game after he scored 20 points and was just so dominant. So it goes to show that. And look at this, Whit Mag getting the second most minutes out of anybody. I mean, he was a dog tonight. He was all over the place. That guy, I mean, he's been a huge reason why this BYU team has been as good as they are. And I think credit to him at that last play of Iowa State where they had it and he went and what's his name? Lipsy tried to get him to bite in the air and he jumped and he was able to stop the shot and then land without fouling and force him to pass and give it up was just tremendous. So, they had defensive guys that were hounding our players, but we had Mawit Mag. So very impressive. Richie Saunders, 48 minutes. Talk about LeBron there. Basically playing the entire game and some, because 2 overtime periods. Anyway, want to get through this. Yeah, BYU fans. This is how we felt 5 minutes ago. BYU fans now, and that was basically to the rest of the game. I was so exhausted I could hardly celebrate even after once the game was won. Johnny Linehan says, "Wait, Iowa State missed a shot and there was no foul called? What? Yeah, the refs." Matt says, "This has to be one of the worst ref games I've ever seen for both teams. Call ticky-tack fouls, but let both teams maul each other, and then call phantom travels while players are dribbling. They aren't even hiding how bad they are." Yeah, I did think it was, at least they were consistently bad, I guess. It was just Iowa State, their defense was so much, they were just all about hounding the BYU players and hanging all over them. And quite frankly, I mean, they can't get that many pokeaways, that many reach-ins without getting any fouls. It was unreal. Anyway, Joe Wheat says refs are definitely holding these teams to their respective honor codes. I won't get into that. Jason Shepard says Richie is stone cold at the line. Yeah, he was fantastic. Did he ever miss tonight? 13 at 13. Goodness gracious. Joe Wheat again says, "Can we just call this as a Q1 tie for both teams and go home?" That is how I felt going into that second overtime period. I was exhausted. Feeling pretty good now, though. Let's see. I don't think that was anything in Hype Train podcast. Oh, that's just this play. So, um, oh, let's take a moment and watch this. This is just unreal. Look at where he comes from. Swats that away. Fantastic. And just for good measure, let's watch this one again. These two plays again. Let me know which one. Both are up there for me for like top plays of the season, but which one is going to be more memorable for you? Let me know that in the comments. Oh, and I've got you on here still. Oh, I've let the comments go way. I'm way behind now. So, or maybe I'm not. By the way, the announcers were so biased. They were often saying "we" when talking about Iowa State. Awful to listen to. I didn't even pick up on that. Um, that is hilarious. All right, I think I missed a couple people. David Webb says refs were crap all game. 9-3 mid second half. What's the 9-3? What in the mid second half in terms of? Oh, the scoring. Oh, or free throws or fouls, I guess called 9-3 in favor of Iowa State. Yeah, especially when you're playing that kind of defense. I don't buy it. Justin White, Yegor needs to tighten up. He really does. He can be kind of loosey goosey, but then you see when he's on. I mean, he was hitting threes pretty well tonight. Let's see, what was his 3-point shooting percentage? Oh, never mind. They were just very memorable ones. And I actually think one of those might have been Boscovich, and I thought it was Devin when he first shot it. So, I can't tell any of those white BYU players apart, but the European ones at least. So, yeah, he jacks them up. And now when he hits the shots, it's in the flow of the offense. And then he also had that other time when he went to the rim and actually took it to the rim and scored. And that was a big bucket there late. So, but yeah, definitely needs to tighten up. He was definitely rattled. The good news, and I think I can't remember, was on Twitter, or was it in this? Just in the chat, it's all running together. Sorry, guys, that at least we know in the NBA, they won't call the games like that, and they won't, so someone would foul out by playing that kind of defense all over him. So he may not see that in the NBA. So at least I guess he has got that going for him. So it won't hurt him, I guess, in that regard with the draft stock. But David Webb says guaranteed 4th spot in Big 12 tourney. That is awesome. Christopher Williams says turnovers 27-10. Oh, yeah. That's actually, I'm seeing 29 to 11, but either way, yeah, that is not going to get it done. I can't believe BYU won a game with that kind of differential in turnovers. And he says, final overtime or POT 17-34. For okay, I'm lost here. Sorry, clarify that. It's late for me. Max Payne, announcers were making me bleed from my ears. Yeah. Honestly, I wasn't even hearing them once we got to a certain point in the game. V4E4 says, haha, and not sure what point that was, 4 minutes ago. So Brad Buffton, great win playing 8v5. Those refs should be embarrassed. That was horrible officiating. At least 10 turnovers were because they mauled us, and we still won. Yeah, absolutely. It did take a lot of bad calls to continue to keep Iowa State in that game. But 1-2, Keita needs some serious free throw practice. Otherwise, elite talent. He is so good. I mean, he is just a specimen and such athleticism. I know he doesn't have quite the length or the height that they'd want to see at the NBA level, but I don't know how you don't at least look at the guy with that kind of athleticism. Let's see. Christopher Williams says, points of turnovers. Off turnovers. Oh, thank you. Sorry. I was trying to figure out. I did ask for that. Thank you. So is that in favor of BYU there with 34 off of turn? There's no way. it had to be the other way around because of that disparity. But still, that is incredible. And that is a great recipe to win the game for Iowa State, but didn't pan out that way tonight. I don't know if trying to do the French pronunciation here. Louis Do, I don't know. 29 turnovers, but one anyway. Unreal. Yeah, in favor of Iowa State. That makes sense. So yeah, there's no way BYU scored 34 points off of 11 turnovers. Would have been nice though. It would have been a much different game. BYU football says Iowa State is elite defensively. Yeah, they are, and we knew that coming into this game, which is what made that run in that first half, and then for them to build off of that the second half, that kind of middle stretch, which is funny because actually it probably did win the game for BYU, but they talk about that. They talked about a lot this year in football, winning that middle 8, closing out the half and starting the other half, and BYU certainly did that in this game, and I think going on that run is what gave them a big enough lead to give them just enough points to continue eking out that win tonight. So way to go BYU to figure something out there and continue to weather the storm. Brad Buffton says they are elite and they're even better when they can hold and hack all night. Yeah. It was very interesting. And I don't watch, this is the first time I've actually watched Iowa State this year. And so I don't know if they do that every game, if that's kind of typical of how they play defense or what, but they certainly came out with a game plan for BYU. But what a fun rivalry. These two teams have played 3 times in Big 12, and every game has been exciting and gotten chippy and just been a lot of fun, although infuriating at times to watch. So should be fun to watch them as they continue to go. And JP says that game was wild. Yeah, it was one of the most wild games I've ever seen. Was it heaven? No, it was win number 7. Yeah, I hope heaven's not like that because that was too stressful for me and exhausting. But yeah, win number 7 and against BYU's toughest stretch of the season. It's just unreal what they're doing right now. BYU football, speaking of the football team, I'm hearing some really good things just to let everyone know. Ooh, what a tease there live on the show. Please give us any more kinds of hints if you can. Curious what that means there. So, I mean, actually go back to this. You gotta at least let us know if you're talking recruiting, if you're talking something they're seeing on the field or something. I don't know. You gotta give us more than that. 1-2 says BYU moves up 2 spots in KenPom up to number 23 from 25, their highest net points rating on KenPom since Jimmer era. Man, going deep there with the stats. Appreciate it. That is huge. So let's see. That's certainly moving them up. Granted, KenPom is not the only rating taken into account there for March Madness, but definitely trending in the right direction. And BYU has at least 2 more games to make some statements there and keep that moving up. So JP says Field of Dreams reference because Iowa. Oh, did I? Oh, do they say that in Field of Dreams, man? I saw that when I was way too young to even remember and was completely freaked out by the ending of it. So, but thank you for the reference and for pointing that out to me. Sorry, I completely missed that. I wanted to look a little bit here at the stats too, because I haven't had a chance to really break this down. The offensive rebounds. I mean, Keita almost had a double-double with just offensive rebounds alone. And 3 blocks. It's good to see some other guys getting the blocks. And also, I wanted to see how many minutes Trey Stewart got. 16 tonight. It felt like he got more than that. He was out there a lot and played some clutch minutes. Really wanted to hit that 3. That would have been very clutch. But BYU, like we said, we just point out the offensive rebounds had a good night on the boards overall. even with the way that Iowa State was hacking and playing on them. But I think they actually used it to their advantage because Iowa State was packing the paint. BYU got a number of rebounds, at least during that run when they had a lot of fast breaks. I think because they were so close in that the rebounds were going over. BYU was able to tip it out, and no Iowa State players were there because they're all in the paint or they were way out farther. So BYU had all that middle to then get the tip outs, which I don't normally like to see. I want to see a guy get two hands on the ball, come down with it. But those tip outs were working, and then allowed him to get on fast breaks, which we know how that went. So, I just realized Dallin Hall had 22 points. Holy cow. So anyway, my voice is getting dry and it is late, but let's get through a few more comments or a couple more comments here and then wrap up here soon. But we got Ethan Sparks. The home crowd was insane. Crazy to see our players be so great at the free point line tonight. Yeah. And I already said this, it was a good crowd. Like, they were loud, they were noisy, they were obnoxious, and that's what you want as a home crowd, is to get in the ref's head, which I think they did, and to get in the other team's head, which I think they did. But it was also really good to hear how quiet they were at the half and during other points. But they came roaring back and almost helped bring their team to a victory, a huge comeback victory. But it's awesome. BYU ended a couple streaks to last year, the Kansas home game win streak, and then tonight with Iowa State. So a lot of fun to do that and come into Big 12 and play in these awesome venues and play in these meaningful games. So cool. 1-2 says Saunders kicked the ball with his forearm and other nonsense ref called. Yeah, that one was bad. I mean, his arm was close to his leg, but it wasn't even close. I mean, ultimately, I think didn't it bounce out of bounds anyway? Or maybe Iowa State got it after it ricocheted. I can't remember. I don't think it ultimately affected the outcome of what happened, which is maybe why it wasn't a big deal. But yeah, there were some nonsense calls there. So anyway, let's see, coming up. If you haven't already, like this video and subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate it. Love having everyone in the comments. Got a good turnout tonight. We'll do this again after the Holy War on Saturday night, and to hopefully celebrate that one and another strong win to end the season. And then also got some other videos been working on to get out potentially this week. And then hopefully early next week before the Big 12 tournament, we'll have a preview with the guys from the Church Ball podcast. And if you haven't heard of that, go look them up, check them out. Their podcast wherever. I think they're on YouTube as well, Twitter. And they'll come on and we'll do a little preview of the Big 12 tournament and what to expect there. So be sure to come back to check all that. We're not just after games going live. We've got other videos that will be coming. So be sure to come back and check out all of that. Let's see. Oh, sorry. And JP says, thanks for doing these. It's more engaging than a Twitter space. It's more fun after a legendary win that brought back shades of 2011 SDSU top 10 showdowns. Well, thank you. Thanks for joining and appreciate all the comments. That is why we do it. I love it after games, just being so amped and wanting platform to talk about this and other people to talk about it with. So I love having everybody come in and bring in comments and their perspective, and it's been a fun season, especially as of late, to be doing these. So appreciate you for doing that and coming on and commenting. Isaac Harlan says BYU let them get back in it, but they didn't give away the win. So glad. Yeah, absolutely true. I mean, BYU almost let it slip away, but they kept doing just enough and kept finding ways, especially when people were out of sorts, and even Richie was struggling, but it found a way, and you gotta love that. Again, it's showing different ways that BYU can win. Because I love that they kept taking threes. They ended at 34%, 11 of 32, which is like not good for BYU. I guess a lot of teams probably normally shoot around that, but still better than Iowa State. So neither team great at three tonight, and BYU still, found a way to eke it out, to tough it out, and get it. A blind man says refs got them back in the game. Yeah, it certainly felt like that at moments. No one wants to play BYU right now. No one does, and with good reason. So BYU's just got to make sure that they don't rest on their laurels and that they keep working and keep getting better, because the free throws, great to see that come in. I won't be surprised if we see another game where they struggle from the line, though. But these turnovers, 2 games in a row, teams have shown putting pressure on BYU and how to kind of slow down BYU a bit. And you better, guarantee that other teams are going to try to do that. Now, not every team is going to have the personnel that Iowa State has to execute on that. And I think BYU has shown that even against Iowa State, how it can make teams pay. And I expect BYU to do that. But you got to anticipate that and be ready for it and avoid these close games. But man, what a win. Let me know actually too, in the comments. We're about to sign off, but I'm still curious, and maybe we'll talk about this more, but after the season, but where does this fall in line with wins this season? BYU's had some great ones. I mean, the Kansas, the Arizona, some other ones. And this is definitely, I don't know, because it was so bad at times, but also what a crazy game. It was a definitely entertaining game and huge win. And again, it's kind of like with the football season. With each win, I don't know, I guess the pressure mounts, but each win feels that much better as you keep clawing towards something special. So this one right now, because the recency bias is high up there for me, but kind of curious to see how, maybe after the dust settles after the season, how we'll rank each of these games. Maybe we'll do another video on that. JP says, it's been awesome seeing these guys peaking at the right time. You love to see it. Yeah. So hopefully they can keep that momentum going, which is, one thing that people say about the double buys. You're sitting maybe too long. I'd like to see this team get a little bit of rest, stay healthy. Speaking of rest, BYU was playing way more players, and also was coming from, the mountains, coming to lower altitude. You'd think that would benefit them a little bit, but both teams were just completely gassed, and with good reason, the way this game went. So anyway, Blind Man says best win in the past 15 years. ISU was 33-1 at home the last 2 years. So yeah, it is. And I think the tournament too will tell us, give us a little bit more insight, the March Madness, that is, about who these teams were, who makes a deep run. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see Iowa State in the Final Four. They definitely could. And so, heck, I mean, at this point, we could see BYU in the Final Four. But anyway, let's see. ISU is 12-7. BYU is 13-6. BYU with tiebreaker has locked up the 4 seed. Okay, thank you. In my app, it hadn't updated yet, and so they're still tied. So, yeah, so BYU has locked up the 4 seed. So that double bye belongs to BYU. Awesome. So good. Kansas win was pretty nice, but this was a real top 10 level game, and we will move up all rankings. I can't remember a trajectory like this going into postseason. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, because with Jimmer, I mean, you kind of knew what you're getting all season. Like we had those Jimmer moments. And this team, definitely struggled and had us, questioning a lot of things midway through the season and starting conference play. And I mean, even going back just a few weeks with getting blown out at Cincinnati. So yeah, it is a insane trajectory. And yeah, that is the thing about Kansas, is they had just lost to Utah, and now they're on a little bit of a skid. They're reeling a bit and trying to figure some things out, which, well, it is Kansas, but it feels less impressive to me. And it was at home versus going into a place like Iowa State, when they're a top 10 team and a legit team, and pulling this out, even in a close one like that. So JP says he would rank them as Iowa State, then Arizona, then Kansas. Yeah, of those 3, I would certainly put it that way right now. I'm trying to think if there's any others that are really, would perhaps crack the top 3. And I think right now that's how I would rank it as well. and says, "Hey, look at us. Who would have thought? Not me." Talking about that Paul Rudd meme from Hot One. So yeah, not absolutely. Wish you could put in these memes and gifs into these comments. That would be awesome, because yeah, that sums it up. Not me. And I think we'll end on that note. Appreciate it, JP. So thanks again for watching. Again, please like, subscribe to the channel. Be sure to come back and join us for after the last game of the regular season, as we talk about the game against Utah. And appreciate you all coming in and joining us for tonight. Now go get some sleep and go Cougs.